Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The dimly lit room began to awaken as sunlight danced through the dusty window, a silent observer to Christopher's morning ritual. Christopher lay amidst the crumpled sheets, his ginger locks betraying the turbulence of last night's sleep. With a groan, he stretched his arm towards the bedside table, his fingers brushing against the digital companion that had become an extension of himself. As he brought the device to life, a solitary notification pulsated, emanating from an obscure sender. Intrigued, he unlocked the secret within, a cryptic message that instantly electrified his veins. Christopher, you may not know me yet, but I have reason to believe we share the unbreakable bond of twins, torn apart at our fragile beginning. My name is Cassandra, and our mirrored appearance, I believe, seals our shared destiny. As Christopher reread the words, he realized this discovery might change the course of his life forever. I've been searching for you for years. Christopher sat bolt upright, his mind reeling. Twins? Separated at birth? It sounded like the plot of a cheesy movie, not his real life. He read the email again, then a third time, searching for some sign that it was an elaborate prank. But the details Cassandra shared, their birth date, the name of the hospital, even a few sparse facts about their birth parents, aligned perfectly with what little Christopher knew of his own adoption. He ran a hand through his hair, trying to process this bombshell. How had he never known? Why hadn't his parents told him? The bedroom door creaked open, and Taylor poked her head in. Morning, sleepyhead. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. Christopher held up his phone wordlessly. Taylor climbed onto the bed, her brow furrowed as she read the email over his shoulder. Her eyes widened. Holy! Chris! This is huge! What are you going to do? He shook his head, still dazed. I don't know. Part of me wants to reply right away, but another part is terrified. What if it's not real? What if it is? Taylor squeezed his hand. Take a deep breath. This is a lot to process. Why don't you shower and get dressed? I'll make some coffee, and we can talk it through. Christopher nodded gratefully. He stumbled to the bathroom, his mind whirling with questions. As the hot water cascaded over him, he tried to imagine what Cassandra might look like. Did they really look identical? The thought was surreal. He emerged from the shower feeling marginally more human. Pulling on a blue t-shirt and jeans, he made his way to the kitchen. The rich aroma of coffee filled the air. Taylor handed him a steaming mug. So, talk to me. What's going through your head? Christopher took a long sip before answering. It's just overwhelming. I always wondered about my birth family, but I never imagined anything like this. Are you going to reply? He nodded slowly. I think I have to. Even if it turns out to be nothing, I'd always wonder if I didn't at least try. Taylor smiled encouragingly. I think that's the right call. Want me to help you draft a response? Together, they crafted a careful reply. Christopher shared a bit about himself and expressed his shock and cautious excitement. He suggested a video call to verify their resemblance before meeting in person. As he hit send, Christopher felt a mix of anticipation and terror. What would happen next? The response came faster than he expected. Cassandra was eager to connect, and they scheduled a video call for that evening. The hours crawled by. Christopher found himself constantly checking his reflection, wondering if he'd see Cassandra's face staring back at him. Finally, the appointed time arrived. With Taylor by his side for moral support, Christopher initiated the call. The screen flickered to life, and he found himself staring at himself in a dress. The silence stretched for a long moment as they gaped at each other. Then Cassandra broke into a wide grin, Christopher's grin. "Oh my God, it's really you!" Christopher laughed, a bit hysterically. "This is surreal! We really are identical!" They talked for hours, marveling at their similarities and differences. Cassandra was bubbly and outgoing, while Christopher was more reserved. But they shared the same laugh, the same crooked smile, even the same habit of running a hand through their hair when nervous. As they wrapped up the call, Cassandra mentioned something that caught Christopher's attention. "Oh, before I forget, there's a twin convention coming up next month in Chicago. I was thinking, maybe we could surprise our families by showing up together?" Christopher hesitated. "I don't know. That seems like a big step." Cassandra's face fell slightly. "Oh, of course. I didn't mean to push. It's just, I've always dreamed of having a twin to do stuff like that with, you know?" After they hung up, Taylor turned to Christopher. "So, what do you think about the convention idea?" He shrugged. "It's tempting, but I don't know. It feels like a lot." Taylor was quiet for a moment, then said slowly, What if you went as Cassandra?" Christopher blinked. "What?" "Think about it. You could dress up as her, really surprise everyone. It'd be like the ultimate twin prank." The idea sparked something in Christopher. A thrill of excitement mixed with a hint of longing. He pushed the feeling aside. "That's crazy. I couldn't pull that off." But over the next few days, the idea took root. Christopher found himself imagining what it would be like to step into Cassandra's shoes. Literally. The more he thought about it, the more appealing it became. A week later, he broached the subject with Taylor again. "So, that idea you had about the twin convention, what if we actually did it?" Taylor's eyes lit up. "Really? You want to go for it?" Christopher nodded, a mix of nervousness and excitement bubbling in his chest. "Yeah, I think I do." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of preparation. Christopher and Cassandra video chatted daily, with Cassandra coaching him on her mannerisms and speech patterns. Taylor helped him shop for clothes and accessories, giggling as they tried on dresses and heels. As the convention approached, Christopher found himself looking forward to the transformation more and more. There was something freeing about the idea of stepping into a different persona, even if just for a day. The night before the convention, Christopher stood before the mirror in their hotel room, barely recognizing himself. The auburn wig matched Cassandra's hair perfectly. The green dress hugged curves he didn't usually have, thanks to some strategic padding. Taylor had done an amazing job with the makeup, softening his features and bringing out his eyes. "Wow," Taylor breathed. "Chris, you look incredible." Christopher turned, watching the dress swish around his legs. A strange feeling washed over him. Not discomfort, but a sense of rightness? He pushed the thought away. "Thanks. Do you think I can pull this off?" Taylor nodded emphatically. "Absolutely. You're going to blow everyone away." The next morning, Christopher's nerves were at an all-time high as they entered the convention center. He wobbled slightly on the heels, grateful for Taylor's steadying hand on his arm. Cassandra spotted them first. Her eyes widened, then she broke into a huge grin. "Oh my God, Chris! You look amazing!" As they moved through the convention, Christopher marveled at how easily he slipped into the role of Cassandra. The gentle sway of the dress, the click of heels on tile, it all felt strangely natural. Their families were stunned. Christopher's parents did a comical double-take, looking back and forth between him and Cassandra. There were tears, hugs, and a flood of questions about how they'd found each other. Throughout the day, Christopher found himself relaxing more and more into his role as Cassandra. He laughed freely, gestured more expressively, even flirted a little with some of the other convention-goers. It felt liberating. As the convention wound down, Christopher was surprised to find himself reluctant to change back into his usual clothes. He lingered in the hotel room, running his hands over the soft fabric of the dress. Taylor noticed his hesitation. "Chris, you okay?" He met her eyes in the mirror. I don't know. This is going to sound crazy, but I don't want to take it off." To his surprise, Taylor didn't look shocked. She simply nodded, a thoughtful expression on her face. "It felt good, didn't it? Being Cassandra?" Christopher nodded, throat tight. "Yeah, it did." Taylor sat on the bed, patting the space beside her. Christopher joined her, careful not to wrinkle the dress. "Chris, can I ask you something?" At his nod, she continued. "Have you ever felt not quite right as a guy? Like maybe you were meant to be something else?" The question hit him like a thunderbolt. Memories flooded back. Always gravitating towards female friends, feeling uncomfortable in traditionally masculine settings, the secret thrill he'd get from trying on his mom's shoes as a kid. I don't know," he said, slowly. "Maybe. I never really thought about it before." Taylor took his hand. "It's okay if you're not sure. But if this is something you want to explore more, I'm here for you, no matter what." Christopher felt tears welling up. "You'd be okay with that? If I wanted to be Christine more often?" Taylor smiled, wiping away a tear that had escaped down his cheek. "Of course. I love you, Chris. Or Christine. Whatever name feels right. I just want you to be happy." They talked long into the night. Christopher shared feelings he'd never put into words before, even to himself. The more he talked, the more certain he became. This wasn't just about playing a role for a day. This was who she truly was. The next morning, Christopher woke up feeling more herself than she ever had before. She turned to Taylor, who was already awake and watching her with a soft smile. "Good morning," Taylor said. "How are you feeling?" Christine, because that felt right now, smiled. "Terrified, excited, like I'm finally waking up after a long dream." Taylor squeezed her hand. "So, what's next?" Christine took a deep breath. I think I want to transition. For real." The journey that followed wasn't easy. There were difficult conversations with family and friends, medical appointments, and the sometimes painful process of learning to navigate the world as Christine. But through it all, Taylor was her rock. She held Christine's hand through doctors' visits, defended her fiercely against anyone who didn't understand, and celebrated every milestone along the way. 6 months later, Christine stood in front of the mirror again. This time, the reflection that greeted her was undeniably female. Hormone therapy had softened her features and redistributed her body fat. Her auburn hair, now grown out, framed her face in soft waves. She smoothed down the front of her yellow sundress, marveling at how natural it felt now, No more padding or uncomfortable shapewear. This was all her. Taylor appeared behind her, wrapping her arms around Christine's waist. Ready for your big debut? Christine nodded, a mix of nervousness and excitement fluttering in her stomach. They were meeting friends for brunch, the first time many of them would see her as Christine in person. As they entered the restaurant, Christine felt a moment of panic. What if they stared? What if someone said something cruel? But then she saw her friends' faces light up with genuine warmth and acceptance. There were hugs, compliments on her dress, and easy conversation that flowed as if nothing had changed, because in all the ways that truly mattered, it hadn't. As they settled into their seats, Christine caught Taylor's eye across the table. Her girlfriend winked, a proud smile playing on her lips. In that moment, Christine felt a profound sense of peace wash over her. This was who she was always meant to be. She was home. The waiter approached their table, notepad in hand. "Good morning, ladies. What can I get for you today?" Christine smiled, her voice clear and confident as she replied, "I'll have the eggs Benedict, please." As the waiter moved on, Christine's friend Olivia leaned in, eyes sparkling with curiosity. "So, Christine, sorry. How does it feel? Being out in the world as your true self?" Christine considered the question, absently twirling a strand of her auburn hair. "It's liberating," she said finally. "Like I've been carrying this heavy weight for years without realizing it, and suddenly it's gone. Everything just feels right in a way it never did before." The conversation flowed easily, touching on Christine's transition journey, work, and their usual friendly gossip. Christine marveled at how normal it all felt. These were the same friends she'd always had, but now she could engage with them fully, without the constant underlying tension of hiding part of herself. As they finished their meals, Taylor raised her mimosa glass. "I'd like to propose a toast," she announced, "to Christine for having the courage to be her authentic self. We're all so proud of you, babe." A chorus of "Hear, hear!" rang out as they clinked glasses. Christine felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the champagne spreading through her chest. After brunch, Christine and Taylor decided to take a stroll through the nearby park. The summer day was perfect. Warm sunshine, a gentle breeze rustling the leaves. Christine's yellow sundress swished around her knees as they walked hand in hand. "So," Taylor said, bumping Christine's shoulder playfully, "how does it feel to be officially out and about as Christine?" Christine grinned. "Honestly, it feels amazing. I keep waiting for it to feel weird or scary, but it just doesn't. It's like I've finally stepped into the role I was always meant to play." They found a bench overlooking a small pond and sat down. Christine watched a family of ducks paddling by, feeling a sense of contentment she'd never experienced before. "You know," she said softly, "I keep thinking about that email from Cassandra. If she hadn't reached out, if we hadn't gone to that convention, would I ever have figured this out?" Taylor squeezed her hand. "I think you would have, eventually. The truth has a way of coming out, but I'm glad it happened this way. Seeing you become more yourself every day has been incredible." Christine leaned her head on Taylor's shoulder. "I couldn't have done it without you, you know. Your support has meant everything." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the play of sunlight on the water. Christine found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her to this moment. There had been challenges, of course. Telling her parents had been one of the hardest conversations of her life. They'd been shocked at first, struggling to understand. But over time, with patience and lots of honest talks, they'd come around. Seeing how much happier and more confident Christine was had gone a long way towards helping them accept her transition. Work had been another hurdle. Christine had been terrified of coming out to her colleagues, fearing discrimination or awkwardness. But her boss had been surprisingly supportive, helping her navigate the process of transitioning in the workplace. There were still occasional slip-ups with pronouns or her old name, but overall, her co-workers had been accepting and eager to support her. The physical changes had been both exciting and nerve-wracking. Starting hormone therapy had felt like a huge step, but the gradual shifts in her body had been affirming in ways she couldn't have imagined. Watching her features soften, her body reshape itself to match her inner self. It was like magic. There had been hard days, of course. Days when dysphoria hit hard, or when a stranger's confused look cut deep. But those days were becoming fewer and farther between. And through it all, Taylor had been her constant champion. Christine turned to look at her girlfriend, overcome with gratitude. "Have I told you lately how much I love you?" Taylor grinned. "You might have mentioned it once or twice, but I never get tired of hearing it." They shared a soft kiss, the kind that still made Christine's heart flutter. When they parted, Taylor had a mischievous glint in her eye. "So," she said, "now that you've had your grand debut as Christine, what's next on the agenda?" Christine laughed. "Honestly, I'm kind of looking forward to things being boring for a while. No more big revelations or life-changing events. Just living my life as me." Taylor nodded. "I can get behind that. Although—" She trailed off, looking suddenly nervous. "Although what?" Christine prompted, curious about her girlfriend's sudden shift in mood. Taylor took a deep breath. "Well, I was thinking, maybe our next big step could be moving in together. Officially, I mean. I know I practically live at your place already, but..." Christine's face lit up. "Taylor, are you asking me to move in with you?" Taylor nodded, a hopeful smile playing on her lips. "What do you say? Want to take this lesbian U-Haul cliché to the next level?" Christine threw her arms around Taylor, nearly knocking them both off the bench. "Yes! 1,000 times yes!" As they walked back home, soon to be their home, Christine felt a sense of excitement about the future. There would be new challenges to face, new milestones to celebrate. But for the first time in her life, she felt fully equipped to handle whatever came her way. She was Christine now, inside and out. She had a loving partner, supportive friends and family, and a life that finally felt authentically hers. Whatever the future held, she was ready to face it as her true self. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of packing boxes, sorting through belongings, and making plans for their new shared space. Christine found herself getting emotional over the smallest things, coming across old photos of herself pre-transition, deciding which of her boy clothes to donate, realizing she'd need to update her address on all her newly changed legal documents. But through it all, there was an undercurrent of joy and anticipation. This wasn't just about combining two living spaces. It was about building a life together, creating a home where Christine could fully be herself. The day of the move arrived, hot and sunny. Christine tied her auburn hair back in a messy ponytail and donned a practical outfit, denim shorts and a loose pink tank top. As she and Taylor carried boxes up to their new apartment, she couldn't help but marvel at how different this felt from any move she'd done before. In the past, moving had always felt like trying to fit herself into a new box, never quite comfortable. But now, arranging her dresses next to Taylor's in their shared closet, setting up her makeup vanity in their bathroom. It all felt right, like she was finally building a space that reflected her true self. As evening fell, they collapsed onto their couch, now adorned with Christine's favorite throw pillows, exhausted but happy. "Well," Taylor said, raising an imaginary glass, "here's to our first night in our new home." Christine snuggled closer, feeling a wave of contentment wash over her. "I can't believe we did it! We actually live together now!" Taylor kissed the top of her head. "Believe it, babe. This is just the beginning." Over the next few months, they settled into a comfortable routine. Christine loved waking up next to Taylor every morning, sharing quiet cups of coffee before work. She reveled in the simple domesticity of it all, grocery shopping together, arguing playfully over whose turn it was to do the dishes, falling asleep watching movies on the couch. But more than that, she loved how their home had become a safe haven. Here, she never had to worry about being misgendered or feeling out of place. She could walk around in her comfiest pajamas or her fanciest dress, and it was all just normal. One Saturday morning, about 6 months into their cohabitation, Christine woke up early. Taylor was still asleep, snoring softly beside her. Christine slipped out of bed, pulling on her favorite silk robe. She padded to the kitchen, starting the coffee maker before moving to stand by the window. The city was just waking up, the first rays of sunlight painting the sky in soft pinks and golds. As she stood there, Christine found herself reflecting on how far she'd come. A year ago, she'd been living as Christopher, never imagining the journey that lay ahead. Now, here she was, Christine, fully and completely herself, building a life with the woman she loved. She thought about Cassandra, the twin sister she'd never known she had. They'd stayed in touch, forming a bond that went beyond their genetic connection. Cassandra had been an invaluable source of support throughout Christine's transition, always there with advice or just a listening ear. The coffee maker beeped, pulling Christine from her reverie. As she poured herself a cup, she heard Taylor stirring in the bedroom. A few moments later, Taylor appeared, hair mussed from sleep. She wrapped her arms around Christine from behind, resting her chin on her shoulder. "Good morning, beautiful. You're up early." Christine leaned back into the embrace. "Just thinking." "Penny for your thoughts?" Christine turned in Taylor's arms, meeting her eyes. "I was just marveling at how much has changed, how happy I am. How much of that is because of you?" Taylor's eyes softened. "Oh, babe, you did all the hard work. I just got to watch you become this amazing, confident woman I fall more in love with every day." They shared a tender kiss, the kind that still made Christine's heart flutter. As they parted, Taylor grinned mischievously. "So, what's on the agenda for today? Lazy Saturday in bed? Brunch with friends? Shopping spree?" Christine laughed. "How about all of the above? We could invite the girls over for brunch, then hit the stores. I've been eyeing a new dress for Sarah's wedding next month." Taylor's eyes lit up. "Ooh, yes! I'll text the group chat. You start on pancakes?" As they moved around the kitchen together, effortlessly in sync, Christine felt a warmth blooming in her chest. This was her life now, filled with love, acceptance, and the freedom to be herself. Later, as they sat around the dining table with their friends, laughter and mimosas flowing freely, Christine caught Taylor's eye across the room. Her girlfriend winked, raising her glass in a silent toast. Christine smiled, raising her own glass in return. Here, surrounded by the people she loved, fully embraced as her authentic self, She knew she was exactly where she was meant to be. The journey had been long and sometimes difficult, but every step had led her here, to this moment, this life, this happiness, and she wouldn't change a thing.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!